MTN News. This is Positively Montana.
Thanks for tuning in for this week's edition of Positively Montana. I'm Tom Wiley. We're bringing you stories from across the state highlighting the good. These stories feature people doing good things, trying to make a difference, and helping those in need. We'll introduce you to Lifesavers, a child police officer, and community members coming together to help animals in need, and so much more. We hope you enjoy the next half hour as much as we've enjoyed putting together these stories for you. We begin in Lewis and Clark County, where the community is coming together, helping to feed some very hungry horses.
Lewis and Clark County Sheriff Leo Dutton asked the community for assistance as they begin taking care of 58 horses seized as part of an animal neglect investigation, and the community has responded. On Wednesday, people began bringing in bales of donated hay to help keep these horses adequately fed.
We had some extra hay, and we thought I'd bring it down here and help out. It's kind of like the right thing to do.
David and Barbara Poole filled the back of their truck with hay after hearing about the horses and contacting the sheriff's office to see if they could help. The horses are being fed several times a day. Veterinarians estimate they will need 1 ton of hay each day. Sheriff Leo Dutton said it would require support from the community to make that happen. The need for donations came at a difficult time. This season's first cut of hay hasn't happened yet, so many local farms and ranches don't have much to spare.
It's the end of the year, so you bought your hay because the new hay will be here in July, and so you're getting down to the nubbins, but I've got some extra hay, so this is a good place for it to be.
By the end of Wednesday, people had donated enough hay for at least another 2 days. Dutton said they're grateful for everything that they've contributed.
You know that comes straight for their heart because hay is in short supply. The ranchers need that hay. So the fact that they're giving it to us, that's gold. It really is. The community is awesome to rally around us and these horses.
David Poole said he was glad to be able to help.
That's why they call it a community, right? Yep. It works.
On Thursday, the Lewis and Clark County Sheriff's Office plans to set up a bank account so that people who want to make monetary donations to support the care and feeding of these animals can do so. In Helena, Jonathan Amberian, MTN News.
I'm Tim McGonigal. For one man living south of Fox Farm, October 18th of last year was almost the end of the line. Little did he know he had a lifesaver in his driveway. On a snowy October afternoon last year, Darren Kittleson had returned home early from bow hunting. With his ATV, he helped plow neighbors' drives, including Bill and Augie Records. They were relaxing at home when Augie noticed that something was not right with Bill.
All of a sudden, Bill was just making these gasping noises for about 4 of them and pushing back in the recliner, and then nothing. So I went over and shook him a bunch of times and no response at all.
Augie noticed Darren outside and got his attention. While Bill was in cardiac arrest, Augie called 911. Darren immediately sprang into action.
Came in the house and recognized he wasn't breathing. He was very gray in color, and just started CPR as best I could. And the folks at 911, the dispatch, they were excellent. They helped us to get our rhythms correct.
Darren helped rescuers until enough emergency personnel were available to assist Bill, who had suffered a heart attack just a year earlier. Timing played a key role in the near tragic event.
My wife had to be there. I wasn't in the garage. I wasn't out doing something else. It was the last day of archery season. I wasn't archery hunting. It had to be. I was there. Darren shows up at that exact time.
The quick emergency response was led by Dr. Dustin Stewart, an emergency medicine physician at Memphis Health System, as well as the medical director for the Gore Hill Volunteer Fire Department, the Bell Fire Department, and Great Falls Emergency Services. On Tuesday, he presented Darren with a life-saving award for his willingness to help so quickly.
A lot of people are afraid. Old versions of CPR had people doing mouth-to-mouth, and a lot of people are afraid of doing that. Right now we push hard, push fast. Chest compressions alone can be life-saving. The other big thing is early 911 intervention, getting the people that volunteer inside your community or the professionals to be able to get there quickly to be able to help out.
Darren says he wasn't seeking an award. He's glad his longtime friend will be around for another bow season. He hopes his actions inspire others to learn CPR and is thankful for the emergency responders.
We had so many people there in minutes. It was just amazing. So we're fortunate to have the first responders that we have.
absolutely no doubt whatsoever I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for these people that are volunteers and professionals in what they do.
Dr. Stewart encourages people to learn as much as they can about CPR. South of Great Falls, Tim McGonigal, MTN News.
Now singing together for 50 years, the Five Valley Chorus of Sweet Adelines has built a reputation across the region, earning 8 championship titles, competing internationally, and performing in and around Missoula throughout the year. But even with all of that experience, the group couldn't avoid the pandemic.
Put it a little bit more in your head and listen to it.
Musicians everywhere had to sacrifice their craft for the good of the community last year. And for the Five Valley Chorus of Sweet Adelines, this year of virtual rehearsals tested their typical tune of optimism.
Wi-Fi connections have been bad for some. We can't hear each other, and we're singing with ourselves at our homes, which has been a lovely challenge.
In a cappella, everything must be just right. Keeping the beat, staying on pitch, not overpowering your neighbor, blending in with the group, and making it look easy.
So when technology gets involved, everything is complicated.
It was kind of a leap of faith for everybody.
With 50 years of tradition, the group had no plans of backing down. In fact, leaders Cindy and Candy say they'd do it all over again if it meant singing through the pandemic.
Thank God for Zoom, really.
Yeah.
It kept me sane because we were able to share music with each other. Despite the fact that we couldn't be around each other.
And now, with perhaps new technological skills in their repertoire, the girls are back.
To be back with the girls in the room with the sound all around us and our buddies, and to be able to hug each other.
Congregating at a member's home in Missoula, nearly 30 women have returned to in-person rehearsals. To say they're giddy would be an understatement.
It's great. It was just it was almost like a religious experience. It just was such a beautiful thing to be able to hear the 4 parts to the chord
all around you.
In Missoula, Megan Mannering, MTN News.
Well, Morgan is a first grader at Margaret Leary Elementary in Butte, but today he became a Butte police officer and made his first arrest.
Make sure you remind kids to always wear their bike helmet, always put on their seatbelt, and to keep our community safe.
Yes. And with that, 8-year-old Morgan Garrels was sworn in as a Butte police officer for the day. A big day for a young man who's had a difficult year and a half after being seriously injured on a playground in January of last year. He required 3 brain surgeries and suffered a stroke during his recovery.
And this has just been something he's been working towards, just another goal. It's just something more that, was something light at the end of the tunnel of a long journey he's been on.
Butte firefighters and police have been involved with the boy, who goes by the nickname Teapot, during his recovery, and were happy to make his dream come true.
He's just a tough kid, for all that he's been through, and he's battled back, and, he wants to be a police officer, and we're going to always encourage and foster that.
Well, Officer Teapot has only been on the job just a few minutes, but it appears he's already making an arrest. So let's stand by and see what happens.
Hello, officer.
Look, you got pulled over. And you were bullying?
I was bullying?
His first arrest went well. Even Butte Sheriff was impressed by the rookie.
It's nice to see him running and carrying on and making an arrest, and he's made more arrests than I have this month anyway.
His mother, who has also been battling cancer during her son's recovery, said this was a good day.
It's been amazing. He's done so good over the last year and a half working hard. So I'm so proud of him for everything that he's done and accomplished so far. So it was kind of fun to see some icing on the cake.
Butte police have had 2 other special children as officers of the day since this program first began. In Butte, John Amy, MTN News.
healing art exhibit to education through street art. We have much, much more right after the break. Stay with us.
More stories from the heart of the Treasure State are on the way when Positively Montana continues after this. Welcome back to Positively Montana.
Thursday morning, Senator Steve Daines spent some time here behind me at Beehive Homes in Great Falls to celebrate the upcoming birthday of a World War II veteran. The senator presented the veteran with a challenge coin and a copy of his congressional recognition.
It's my honor to present to you a congressional record.
Navy veteran Ed Mayerly thanked Senator Steve Daines multiple times as Daines read and then presented the copy of the congressional record recognizing Mayerly for his service.
It's wonderful. That's the United States of America would do something like this.
Mayerly will turn 100 on Sunday, the anniversary of D-Day.
Pearl Harbor Avenger, I joined the Navy.
Some of Mayerly's family members, including his son Mick, were by his side Thursday.
It's amazing, you know, how many people have the opportunity to see their dad turn age 100. Not only that, just as Senator Daines was saying, just his record of service going all the way back to the military, and then serving in a nursing home ministry for so many years with my mom. You know, we all need role models and examples in our lives of how to live our lives, and my dad definitely set the example.
Daines says honoring Mayerly is important.
These are stories we need to keep telling to the next generation, that we as Americans are free because of the sacrifice of these great American war heroes.
Thank you. This is for you.
We have a link to the congressional recognition in this story on our website. In Great Falls, Colter Anstad, MTN News.
It's been well documented the emotional and mental benefits of being able to creatively express oneself. St. Peter's Health and the Holter Museum of Art have been providing it to patients at the hospital over the last year.
Over the last 12 months, St. Peter's Health and the Holter Museum of Art have partnered to provide healing arts to the patients of the Behavioral Health Unit. You can now see some of those patients' artwork on display at the Holter. For patient and featured artist Lisa Santillanes, the Healing Arts program helped her rediscover her passion for art and build back up her confidence.
If it wasn't for them, I probably wouldn't have been able to get through this pandemic so lightly. Everything was just hectic and they were there.
The Healing Arts program isn't therapy, just a way to have creative expression while staying at the hospital. Yet staff say there is no denying it has had great benefits.
The first time they came in, maybe they weren't as open or more nervous about it. Over the hour and a half, 2 hours, they've just calmed and really kind of went into that flow state of being there with being present.
The exhibition at the Holter features the work of dozens of patients. Each piece represents a true expression of an individual at that moment, which Holter Director of Education Sandra Hines says is the point of art, and she says she's been consistently impressed by the patient's work.
Go easy on yourself. How many times have you used this kind of ink, or how many times have you painted with acrylic paint? And so let's just give it a try. And the things that they do and came up with are just really inspiring to me.
Santillanes hopes the artwork can also help inspire others to not be afraid of seeking out and receiving care for behavioral health at a place like St. Peter's.
It's a safe environment. They've shown me that they are caring beyond all I could ask for, and it's absolutely amazing.
If you are in crisis, know that help is available at any time of day, no matter what your situation is. It's just a phone call away. Reporting in Helena, John Riley, MTN News.
I'm here at the Myrna Loy in Helena, and there is a new creative project. It's called Rodney Street Is. It's finding people's stories and telling them through art.
The people of Rodney Street are making stories that will be told for years to come. And now with the help of the Myrna Loy, pictures of those people have been captured to show future generations.
So we landed a grant from the National Endowment for the Arts to do this creative placemaking project.
The grant was for $100,000, which will fund the Rodney Street Is project.
Rodney Street Is project is a creative placemaking project of the Myrna Loy, which is not only a place to come and experience arts, but we are also a creative force in the community.
Jeannie Warden is one of the resident artists taking part in the project.
Ask anybody if I can take a photo of them, calling it the Faces of Rodney. And I thought, well, instead of just framing them and putting them up, I could put them on doors, and then it would be more interesting, different.
There is also a multimedia component to the project.
And then the second part is I'm doing video interviews also and trying to tell the story about Rodney. What is Rodney? Where it began, where it's at, and where it's going.
Jeannie hopes to share the deep-rooted history of the downtown Helena Street, which is home to some of the oldest buildings and houses in the city.
Do the story gathering, taking the historic parts of the story to the person actually living in the home or doing business in the home, to residents being able just to walk by and actually know their history of their street, and for all of Helena to know the history of the street.
The project will be going on for another year. In Helena, Phoenix O'Connor, MTN News.
Still to come on this edition of Positively Montana, we'll introduce you to an unsung hero keeping students participating in extracurricular activities even during a pandemic. Plus, see how students are volunteering to keep an invasive species at bay. Those stories are next. Stay with us.
More stories from the heart of the Treasure State are on the way when Positively Montana continues after this. Welcome back to Positively Montana.
This school year has been tough on students and educators as the COVID-19 pandemic brought sudden change to classrooms and school activities. Flathead Activities Director Bryce Wilson worked hard to bring a little normalcy back to Flathead students.
Every time we turned the page, there was no page there to have what the directions were, so you were writing stuff and making stuff up as you went.
30 years into the education field, Bryce says he's never experienced a school year quite like this.
Definitely the most challenging, just because overall things just weren't the same.
The COVID-19 pandemic changed each school activity and sport, including restrictions on spectators and increased sanitization methods to keep students and staff safe. Bryce quickly learned he was not going to be able to please everyone.
For us to keep doing these events, we have to have everybody masked. We need you to social distance, and we need you to, come and support the kids. We want you to, but it's in this limited fashion, and we can't exceed that. And so that was definitely a challenge.
It was oftentimes a 7-day-a-week kind of a job.
Flathead High School Principal Michelle Payne says Bryce navigated through unprecedented sports seasons, adjusting game schedules for every team as schedules changed by the minute.
Week by week, schedules changed. I think, in any given season you're going to have, or any school year, you'll have changes that happen, but this happened all the time.
Bryce would often work fast behind the scenes, including buying special equipment for Flathead's highly competitive speech and debate team, conducting their entire season virtually.
First tournament we had, we didn't have the technology we needed. Our kids would get and stop, freeze right in the middle of it. So we had to go and purchase some things. We had to have our IT look at all the computers we were using and how does that, how do we get through this?
In early March, Bryce came to the rescue again, offering to host the AA state wrestling tournament at Flathead High School on late notice because of a schedule conflict in Billings. He says he couldn't just stand by and see athletes and families miss such a special event they've worked so hard for.
The coaches, the athletes, so grateful. That's, I've used that word throughout this year. I felt that the parents and the athletes and the coaches have been grateful that we've had seasons, and they've been grateful when we've been able to hold those events.
Michelle says activities directors have had one of the hardest jobs across school districts this year. She can't envision how this school year would have looked if Bryce wasn't in charge.
Adjust on the fly, and they were the first ones to take the criticism when people weren't happy about the number of participants or the cancellations or the reschedule at a time when now that doesn't work for the family. And so he's had to do a lot of that, and we're very proud to have him here at Flathead High School.
The events keep rolling on for Bryce as Kalispell schools host the AA State Softball Tournament this weekend. In Kalispell, Sean Wells, MTN News.
High school students from Great Falls and Sims spent part of their Thursday here in the Sun River Valley pulling out knapweed, an invasive species. This is part of an annual program with the school districts called Pull Your Share.
To go around the plant, loosen it up. That work? That will kill it, yes. Okay, cool.
Almost as soon as a group of students set out on a short hike to a patch of spotted knapweed high in the mountains Thursday morning, they were able to celebrate as one of their own spotted some of the weed and dug it up.
Dirt biking's way easier than this.
We have brought up about 85 high school students, and they're adopting a knapweed site, invasive species site, that they're going to come to year after year to provide long-term sustained reduction of knapweed at their site.
Dan Wilkins is the Pull Your Share Weed Coordinator for Great Falls Public Schools and the Outreach Coordinator for Reach Higher Montana, an organization designed to help students across the state navigate life after high school. This is the 5th year Wilkins has taken students on a trip to help prevent spotted knapweed from getting into the Sun River Game Range.
The plant puts a chemical in the soil called catechin, and that catechin in the soil is toxic, and it prevents other plants, especially forage plants, from growing in that area. So we can end up with a monoculture that's knapweed, say in this game range, where and the elk wouldn't be able to survive the winter because it doesn't have enough nutritional value for the elk.
After their celebratory first pull, students placed a sign to mark their site and then hiked about 15 minutes to the bulk of the weeds.
There's a little creek down there.
And got busy pulling.
Montana is a primarily very popular tourist place as well as agriculture, and I think invasive species like this threaten the agricultural economy as well as the tourism economy here.
I really enjoyed coming up here and good learning experience.
The day also included education about noxious weeds and how to reduce them. Stephanie Criswell coordinates the Montana Invasive Species Council and says she really appreciates the Pull Your Share program.
And what I really love about what Dan's done is he addresses it from all angles.
Living up to the program and pulling his share. To find out more about knapweed or how you can get involved with the Pull Your Share program, check out this story on our website. In the Sun River Valley, Colter Anstad, MTN News.
We hope you enjoyed this week's edition of Positively Montana. Each week we'll be scouring the state looking for good. Of course, if you know someone who meets that criteria, we encourage you to submit your idea online. We're looking for people doing good things, people trying to make a difference, and good things happening to those in need. That's all we have time for this week. I'm Tom Wiley. We'll see you back here next week.